Right here, this man's camper was turned completely over. And this family over here had large chunks of their roof torn off and thrown straight into the wind. Beautiful, giant snowflakes have been dropping out of the sky and blanketing our West Texas area out in Ector County with snow. Everyone here really appreciates seeing these guys come over here and show their support, because obviously this is a huge, grand gesture, and as I said before, really takes thanking healthcare workers, as we saw, to new heights. I just had dinner here, and I was going to have a sandwich in the live shot, but honestly, I was so hungry I couldn't even stop myself, so I went ahead and just ate it. But no worries, because it went down for a good cause. To mask or not to mask? That's the question Texas businesses are asking themselves this week. The 5-hour drive Honey Blonde reminds drivers that if they're going to go to any other major city, well, it's going to be a long drive. There's just one problem. The roads up until this point are public, so therefore they're paved. But one step this way, and you'll only find private roads outside the county's jurisdiction, and therefore left to collect dust. Your flight here lands at 2 p.m., but your connecting flight is at 1:57, which obviously doesn't really give you time to make it to that gate. In this case, United may hold that flight and then shoot you a text like this, letting you know that they're waiting for you. Well, I don't know about you, but whenever I come to a library, one thing I always look forward to is the wonderful smell of a new book. The only problem is, when you come to the Ector County Library, well, that might not actually be the smell that comes to mind. And police are saying all of this was due to a case of road rage. They had responded to a disturbance call here sometime after midnight when they say they were attacked. And speaking of good deals, it is a particularly good day to make it rain, because today it is National Dollar Day. I hate to rain on y'all's parade this Memorial Day, but unfortunately there is a chance of showers going into this evening throughout West Texas. Well, over here in Monahans, it's been snowing and freezing like so many other places, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's been miserable here. As a matter of fact, a stroke of luck has kept most of these houses lit and warm, while the rest of the state has gone dark.
Probably around 96% of the population of the city of Monahans had no problems whatsoever.
That's right. While major cities from Houston to Dallas, as well as many here in West Texas, shivered in the dark, little Monahans has been sitting pretty.
To see them kind of ahead and keeping the power on for the most part, it's been kind of surprising, to be honest.
It surprised me too. So I asked Mayor David Cutbirth, how did this tiny town keep chugging along during a statewide power crisis?
And we would love to take credit for that, but we're at the right place at the right time.
It turns out Monahans' power grid is tied to a major West Texas power plant. Because ERCOT can't afford to let that plant stop churning power, Lucky Monahans has been skipped during all of the rolling blackouts.
I know it's hard to say it's not fair, but it's not, and it's not right.
It's bittersweet for Aaron Hufty, who's been watching other Texans freeze on TV, wishing they could stay warm too.
If I could give up a couple hours of electricity so others can have it, I'd do it in a heartbeat, but I can't control that, and I wish I could.
The mayor said when the storm clears, he really hopes that the state takes a hard look at themselves and then learns to invest in infrastructure so that everyone else doesn't have to rely on luck the way that his city did. Reporting in Monahans, Shane Battis, CBS 7 News. When Andrews residents woke up this morning, their neighborhood looked pretty different. Right here, this man's camper was turned completely over. And this family over here had large chunks of their roof torn off and thrown straight into the wind. Residents described their night taking shelter from extreme wind, rain, and hail.
It sounded like a roar, like really scary roar.
It was raining so hard and it's hailing, the wind's probably blowing 70 miles an hour, you couldn't see anything. Nothing.
When they could see again, it wasn't a pretty sight. Downed power lines, overturned trailers, and pieces of homes strewn all about the neighborhood. And Rendon says chunks of her roof were torn away and scattered across the yard, if they even came down at all. She says it was the most frightening storm she's seen for as long as she's lived in Andrews.
My grandkids were all scared. All they kept telling me was like, let's just leave. And we were like, well, we have to wait, everything's gonna be okay.
And she wasn't the only one with reason to feel a little on edge. This massive oil tanker rolled all the way from an oil field lot right into this family's backyard, stopping just feet away from the door. The company's crews say it'll have to stay there until the winds die down. This family caught a lucky break, but many others didn't.
We came by and we checked it out, and it's pretty messed up.
That's an understatement. Marco Saenz walked us around his house, showing us where his carport used to be after the storm sent pieces of their home flying, leaving the rest in shambles without even gas or electricity.
So without electricity, the house is just a house, useless.
It only took a few hours for the storm to sweep through Andrews, but it'll take weeks for the damage to be undone.
But it's so quick. It goes through and does its damage and then it's over.
Now, we've gotten a lot of questions throughout the day about whether last night's storm was a tornado, but this has not been confirmed yet by the National Weather Service. However, it's clear that it was a very powerful storm with winds going up to 65 miles an hour. Reporting live in Andrews, Shane Battis, CBS 7 News. You hear that? That's the sound of new life. Andrew was breathing easy with 2 new lungs in his chest, but he was a very different man just a few months before this. When his lungs were collapsing under the virus, he was put on ECMO, a device that oxygenates his blood. ECMO kept him stable, but soon it became clear that a double lung transplant was the only thing that could save him.
A lot of people, it does happen where, their lungs get a chance to rest, they give them some medicine, and then their lungs just start working again. That just never happened with me.
While Andrew's lungs deteriorated, the Capon family found they had 2 obstacles to beat: the coronavirus itself and insurance red tape. His mother, Brenda Capon, says Andrew didn't have insurance when he got sick, and getting him on emergency Medicaid took months. In fact, Brenda says she had to call politicians all over Texas and the governor's office until coverage finally came through for Andrew in December. But even then, the hits kept coming.
Every time we got something squared away, like another thing happened. So we get the insurance figured out. Then I had another infection. Once we got that infection figured out, it turns out that I had, my kidneys were failing again, and I needed to go back on dialysis.
Hope, like every shallow breath, welled up inside Andrew, only to escape again. Hospital after hospital denied him a transplant. His doctors knew he couldn't survive without new lungs, so they told Andrew what no patient wants to hear.
So one of the doctors told me that it was a very good chance. That, his exact words is, we're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna die. And I didn't know how to take that, and I took it really bad.
When it seemed Andrew was bound to die in this hospital bed sooner or later, he was tempted to give up on life, just as his lungs had already given up on him.
I didn't even want to watch TV. I didn't want to talk.
All that sustained him was a simple promise to his mother.
I made him promise me that he wouldn't give up. He had to keep fighting. He had to pinky swear he was going to stand up every day. He was going to eat every day.
And so he did, every single day. Andrew beat an infection and kidney failure, and the Capon family broadcasted his success wherever they could.
We're at 1 minute.
Until good news finally made its way to the COVID ward. His nurses cheered him on as Andrew was rolled out of his room, bound for a Houston hospital where a new pair of lungs were waiting to save his life.
It's weird to say, but it was probably one of the best moments of my life. Just knowing that you're gonna make it, and you're not gonna be just another little digit at the end of the ever-growing number of COVID deaths.
He might have, if not for his mother. That Houston hospital was the last option for a lung transplant, and it almost didn't accept Andrew's Medicaid plan. The surgery only happened after Brenda pleaded with the governor's office to make a special exception for the surgery.
It was absolutely unacceptable that Andrew was working this hard to stay alive and that others would give up on him and tell him, well, we'll just have to figure out how to let you die most comfortably. He's like, no, he was fighting to live.
Fighting with hundreds of people on his side. Throughout this gut-wrenching year, family, friends, and strangers sent their love in Facebook posts, cards, and notes, pushing Andrew to make it through one more day until the battle was finally over.
Nobody gave up on me.
Big breath in.
That's how much time I needed, and that's how much time they gave me.